The Whispering Banyan on Blackwood Road. My name is David. I've always been a man of logic and concrete facts. I grew up in a small town in Oregon, right on the edge of the old logging country. In our town there was a stretch of Blackwood Road that everyone avoided after dark. The reason wasn't a dangerous curve or a lack of streetlights, it was the tree. Right by the edge of the asphalt stood a massive, centuries-old banyan tree. It was an anomaly, a tropical monster somehow thriving in the cold, damp climate of the Pacific Northwest. Its thick, twisted aerial roots hung down like skeletal fingers clawing at the earth, and its canopy was so dense that it completely choked out the moonlight. The locals called it the hanging tree. The Murubis, the old elders who migrated here decades ago, warned everyone, never stop under its shadow after midnight. The tree doesn't just grow roots, it grows faces, and once it hears your voice, it will steal your skin. I always laughed at those stories, until last night. It was exactly 1 a.m. I was driving my truck back from a late shift at the local powerhouse. A thick, oppressive fog had rolled over the asphalt, reducing visibility to almost zero. The world outside my windshield was a suffocating, silent white void. The only road back to my house was Blackwood Road. As I approached the segment where the old banyan tree stood, the temperature inside my truck violently plummeted. My breath began to turn into white mist. Suddenly the radio static roared to life, cutting off my music. The digital display on my dashboard began to glitch, the clock numbers spinning uncontrollably before freezing completely at 1 a.m. Then, my truck's engine coughed once, sputtered, and died. The headlights dapped out, plunging me into pitch-black darkness. The truck rolled to a silent halt, right beneath the massive, towering shadow of the banyan tree. The silence that followed was absolute. No wind, no crickets, no rain, just the sound of my own frantic breathing. I turned the key in the ignition. Click, click, click. The battery was completely dead. I grabbed my heavy tactical flashlight, pushed the truck door open, and stepped out onto the cold, damp asphalt. I shone the bright beam of light up into the twisted branches of the banyan tree. The aerial roots hung down all around my truck, looking like a cage of ancient, rotting bones. Then from deep within the hollow center of the trunk, I heard it. "David, help me." I froze, the flashlight trembling in my hand. The voice was a soft, desperate whisper. It was a woman's voice. It sounded exactly like Sarah, my fiancée. But Sarah was asleep at home, 5 miles away. "Sarah," I called out, my voice cracking in the freezing air. "Is someone out there?" "David, it's so cold in here, the roots are tight. Please pull me out." My protective instincts clashed violently with the primal terror screaming in my brain. I advanced toward the base of the tree, shining the light into the thick cluster of roots. The beam cut through the mist, illuminating a shape trapped behind the wooden tendrils. It was a human figure. It was wearing Sarah's exact red winter coat. Its long hair was tangled in the bark. "Sarah, hold on," I yelled, dropping my guard. I stepped closer, reaching out to grab one of the thick roots to pull it apart. But just as my fingers touched the wet, cold wood, the illusion began to rot. I looked closer at the face trapped in the tree. The figure was wearing Sarah's clothes, but the head was completely wrong. The skin was a pale, decaying gray, tightly stretched over a skeletal frame, and where its eyes should have been, there were just 2 hollow, pitch-black sockets. As I stared in horror, the entity's jaw unhinged, dropping unnaturally low, opening a massive, gaping hole lined with needle-like teeth. It wasn't crying. The desperate voice was coming from somewhere deep inside its hollow chest, looping like a broken cassette tape. "David, help me. David, help me." A wave of pure, unadulterated terror hit me. I scrambled backward, tripping over a root and crashing hard onto the asphalt. My flashlight dropped, rolling away, its beam pointing up at the canopy. Above me, the tree came alive. The hanging aerial roots began to twist and writhe like a knot of massive wooden serpents. From the branches above, dozens of pale, featureless gray faces began to push through the bark, their empty eye sockets staring down at me, their mouths opening in a synchronized, silent scream. The entity in the trunk ripped itself free from the wood, crawling out on all fours with a sickening, snapping sound of breaking bones. It bolted toward me, its long, skeletal limbs moving with a terrifying, spider-like speed. I scrambled to my feet, abandoning my flashlight, and ran down Blackwood Road as fast as my legs could carry me. I didn't look back, but I could hear it right behind me. Thump, thump, thump. The wet, heavy sound of its hands and feet slamming against the asphalt, accompanied by a deafening, glitched mechanical shriek that sounded like a dozen broken radios playing full-volume static. I ran for what felt like miles, my lungs burning, my throat raw from the freezing air. Suddenly, the darkness broke, and I saw the bright porch light of my own house ahead. The road had somehow led me straight home. I sprinted up the steps, slammed the heavy oak front door shut, and locked every deadbolt. I collapsed against the door, panting violently, tears of pure relief streaming down my face. I had made it. I was safe. The house was quiet and warm. The digital clock on the microwave read 1:30 a.m. The nightmare was over. Exhausted and trembling, I walked into the bathroom to wash the mud and sweat off my face. I turned on the faucet, splashed the freezing water over my eyes, and grabbed a towel to dry myself. As I wiped my face and looked up into the mirror, my heart completely stopped. My body went entirely numb, and the towel slipped from my limp fingers. The reflection looking back at me had my clothes, my hair, and my jacket. In its place was a smooth, featureless mass of pale gray skin. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just a blank canvas. I tried to scream, but I had no mouth to form the sound. Suddenly, from the other side of the glass, the reflection raised its hand and touched the mirror. A terrifying wide mouth ripped open across its smooth gray skin, revealing rows of sharp, needle-like teeth. It smiled a sinister, mocking smile, and spoke in my perfect original voice. "Thanks for running all the way home, David. Your life belongs to the Banyan now." I realized the horrifying truth too late. The road hadn't led me home. The tree had never let me go. I had looked at the microwave clock, but it was just a distortion. It was still 1 a.m. I was still standing under the shadow of the banyan tree, trapped inside my own mind, while a faceless monster walked out of the woods wearing my skin.